hospitality dinner tonight. We're really all excited that you're all here with us. My name is Chris Ferrara, owner of U.S. Fire Pump. I started this company some 5 years ago with some new ideas and some new technology bringing to the fire industry. So before I get into that, I'd like just to make a few introductions of people here with us tonight. Ron Naraki, our chief engineer. Blaine Richard, our sales manager. John Snyder's here with us also. Our dealers here tonight with us is Brad Williams and Bob Glean with Ferrara. Ed Martin and Dave Mosteller with TSI. And last but not least, our special guest tonight, Dwight Williams and his daughter Betty Daspit's here with us tonight. So, for those who don't know me, I started my career as a union pipe fitter some 40 years ago out of Baton Rouge. In spare time, I had nothing else to do, I guess, when I got married at a young age and joined the local volunteer fire department out of central Louisiana and became a volunteer fireman there in the late 70s, early 80s. You know, our fire department at that time really didn't have any money. It was a typical volunteer fire department that it was the chicken dinners and fundraisers and door-to-door and boot drives and everything else. So really we couldn't afford a fire truck. So with my welding experience and fabricating experience, me and a couple of guys got together and actually built a fire truck around 1981, 1982, and that's when the inception, I guess, of Ferrara Fire Apparatus started some 38 years ago. You know, with that, Ferrara has been very successful over many years. We have manufactured and developed and put in service in excess of 6,000 trucks for fire departments and industrial facilities all around the world. You know, again, looking back, of the fire service that I've been in 40 plus years, you know, I've been in the fire service in many different applications, I guess, in the younger days, and also during that time I've been very successful, believe it or not, of extinguishing the industrial fires and landfill fires for different people around the state. Some 4 years ago, I saw a need, like I was saying earlier, I saw a void, it seemed like, in the industry, in the industrial industry, that you know, things wasn't really developing and wasn't really progressing, I guess, after Dwight got out of the business. So I started looking at opportunities and looking at ways to really improve the industrial market. So what you see around the room is some of the evidence of our hard work, I guess, over the last 4 or 5 years of developing new technology and new things that we do for a lot of industrial facilities all around the world. To brag a little bit, you know, we've been very successful and have delivered quite a few pumps and systems for different industrial facilities all around the country so far. So our first development was the big U.S. fire pump that we actually have in back of the room. The midship mounted fire pump you see back there can actually pump 5,500 GPM from draft and from a pressurized source in excess of 10,000 gallons a minute. That pump actually holds the Guinness Book of World Record as the largest fire pump ever installed and developed on a fire truck anywhere in the world. So we really was really excited about that. And naturally, there's been a lot of, you know, copying, I guess, or trying to get the volume up of industrial trucks that we see out there, of 2 pumps being put together and some other things. But again, this was a truly designed pump with a design engineer that's been in the business for over about 45 years. So we're really excited about that product and have quite a few of those fire trucks in service around the world today. You know, when we look at other products around the room, it's just a large selection of, you know, units that we have come up with and designed, from a direct injection foam system that we couldn't get in the room. It's sitting out on the curve. But basically, it takes a foam pro system through a 12-inch pipe with Storks fittings each side. It's very accurate. It can flow 30,000 gallons a minute at 3%. And naturally, you can set it at the different varieties of foam applications but it's all electronic, paddle wheel application, very precise in foam injection unit. So we think that's going to be really a game changer in the market today. And also the other products, from monitor trailers to submersibles. I mean, we build submersible packages from 3,000 GPM all the way up to 20+ thousand GPMs. Our latest design was, turn your pickup truck into a 3,000 GPM pumper. So you actually see one out on the field today actually supplying 1 or 2 fire trucks, and we actually had that unit out several months ago. We were actually supplying 3 fire trucks with that little 3,000 GPM submersible pump. It was pretty amazing. So a lot of new technology, from foam transfer pumps, remote controlled trax unit that's in the back, 6 to 12-inch hose, large selection of Storks fittings, and we do other things, fire consultants for foam and water supply, large availability of foam supply, backup fire equipment and rental equipment available through the company. And these are just really a few things that we can offer you as industrial chiefs and industrial facilities that's here with us tonight. So with that, enough said. Again, we're really happy that you're here tonight. Please stay around. We got a lot of great gifts to give away tonight. So as you register, if you haven't registered, come up. But before I do that, and before we do some giveaways, I'd like to take a minute to introduce really a great friend of mine. I guess me and Dwight started our career. He started, I guess, way before I did, back in the 80s. And we've been knowing each other for many, many years. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dwight Williams.
Thank you, Mike. Well, actually, I started in 1969. Yeah, I have a lot older than people think. But I want you to know that I feel very blessed and honored to be here, number one, to be available to say hello to you guys and gals that I've missed. And it's a pleasure to be in the presence of people like Chris's group that thinks outside the box. That's what we did. If you look back, and I can't remember if it was 81, 82, when we first used the self-educting nozzle. I think it was in New Mexico, at Artesia, New Mexico. Adair was down there with 3 tanks on fire. It started with 1. And they called us. We went in, used their pumps and their boys to run the pumps. We put out 3 tanks in about an hour and a half. And then we did the one in Chalmette, Louisiana. That was 83, I believe. Then we came up with what we called the hired gun. Some of you remember that. And the question was, where in the hell are you going to get all that water to run that 2,000-gallon minute nozzle? All you need is a 500. Well, that's true if you're a fire chief and the biggest tank you got is about 60 foot. Today, we've got 12,000-gallon a minute plus size nozzles. Chris has got one apparatus that proportions foam for 12,000 gallons a minute, and you can use it remotely. You don't even need a self-educting nozzle for that. So these boys are thinking outside the box, and it's a pleasure to be associated with them in any way. And I think that we need to all give a little thought to how we can make this firefighter's job easier. How many of you has laid 5,000 feet of 5-inch hose in the middle of the night? Okay. Try doing it today in today's refinery with all the regulations you have and with the help that you have. Try doing it today. You got to make things easier for the men and women out there trying to put these fires out. The real truth is, it's been a long time since you've had a good fire in the United States. I met Chris first time, I believe, 1989 at, if you knew Jerry Kraft, he would, I guarantee you'd remember Christmas Eve, 1989. He wouldn't let you forget it. 14 storage tanks, 4 API separators, pipe bands, manifolds, all put out in 14 and a half hours. Bus and Exxon. That's where I met Chris. We had a fire truck. Anybody here from National Phone? Now, if you have been, it's okay. They delivered a fire truck to Exxon that had a 5-inch discharge and an 1.25 inch ratio flow controller in the pipe. Now, what do you think you can flow out of an 1.25 inch? Well, you can't flow 1,000 gallons a minute, trust me. You can't do it. When you do that, I walked back. Chris was working with Baton Rouge, I believe, at the time, and we were taking suction out of a cooling tower, going to the pump. Jerry had his truck wind up like a 10-day clock. Couldn't get but 41 pounds on the tip of our gun. We're fixing to attack a manifold fire, a storage tank, and the application rate on the tank would have been 0.09. We had less than you're supposed to have to attack just the tank. The dike's on fire. We took National Foam's truck out of service and went straight from Baton Rouge's pumper and put the tank out with 61 pounds. Now, that was a bunch of can-do kind of boys in those days. And I know the boys we got today are tough, but the regulations and the restrictions and the safety is so great that you can't afford to hurt anybody anymore, can you? Can't do it. So give thought to something that's outside the box that makes it easier, that allows them less risk to put the fire out. I saw a young man here with a shirt on from school that I used to hold down in East Texas, and it said, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. I coined that. And that's what you want to leave here with tonight. If you're going to be a damn bear, be a grizzly. These fires in these refineries are not, you're not making cookies out there. You're cooking crude. You got to take it real serious. You got to think outside the box. Pleasure being in front of y'all. Thank you.